Evening everybody, and welcome to my third installment of my Quibids tutorials. This is going to be a Quibids tutorial on how you can use your Microsoft Excel to give yourself a bit of an edge on some of the voters, or not some of the voters, but some of the bidders that are on Quibids. So the two things that we're going to be showing you right now is we're going to use our Microsoft Excel. You can see I already have open on my screen. And I'm also going to use the Quibids screen itself. So one of the things that you're going to want to know about the items that you're bidding for is you're going to want some different statistics on it so that you can get kind of an edge on some of the novice bidders that are just jumping in randomly on these things. So one of the item that I'm going to use tonight, just for the sake of doing this tutorial, we're going to use the Keurig coffee brewing system. So up in the top right corner here, or the top left corner, I'm going to type in Keurig. Okay, and then I'm going to highlight an entire section here, and we're going to just put some borders in there so that we know what we're working with. Now what this area is going to be, this is just going to be a area that you're going to collect your prices that the Keurig system has actually sold for. So we're going to go back over to the Quibids website, and we're going to go into the search auctions, and we're going to type in Keurig. And we'll do a search for that item. So you can see that a number of the items have already come up, and there's a number of them that have already been sold. This is where you're going to get your data from. We'll go with the Keurig B60 system, but what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use some fictional prices rather than jump back and forth on the screen because it can be time consuming. So we're just going to use some, but you can see that there's a number of auctions that have sold on the Keurig B60 system. You can see one here for $9.18, $6.32, $17.85. If we scroll down a little bit further, you can see one here for $2.74. So you can see that they actually sell for a range of prices. So the bigger ticket items are always good to collect a lot of data on. So I'm going to go back, and we're going to just start punching in some numbers as though they actually sold for this value. So 1970. And on to the next one, we'll go 860, and I'm just going to punch in a couple more numbers here. Okay, so we've got our first set of numbers. We've got 7 values here. So what can we do with these numbers to make them a little more valuable to you? So over on the right here, I'm going to start off by talking about the max. And that's what it's going to do is once you start compiling a lot of this data, and I know it's quite easy right now just to look at the data and see that you've had the highest bid that you've ever sold, that this item has ever sold for in recent auctions is 19.7 or 1970. But for when you're starting to track smaller items like $25 Walmart cards or any of the smaller cards, you can certainly compile a lot of data. So we are going to type in max here, or we'll type in maximum. So we'll know that this is going to be the maximum amount that this value is, or this item is actually sold for. So the formula that you're going to want to type in here is equal and max. We're going to put in a bracket here. And what you want to do is just highlight this entire section, because as you continue to add numbers, you're going to want to be able to have them continue to add into your formula. So we'll close off the bracket and hit enter. So you can see that it's carried over the 1970. That was the highest value that was in there, and it's carried it into the maximum column. So just on a quick glance, you can look over and say, okay, this item is the highest that it's sold for is 1970. So if we were to throw in, say, another value, say now the next auction that you watch is 2207. You can see now that the 22.7 has carried over, and you have a new maximum for your value. So that's definitely a good summary, number one. But is it really valuable? Yeah, certainly, because you might want to use some of your maximum values to know when you want to come into your Keurig, into your auction for the item. But let's say that you want to find what the average is. So again, we're going to type in equal and just average. Open up your brackets, sort. There we go. And then we're going to do the same thing. We're going to highlight this entire section. And then we'll close off our bracket. And now you have the average value that it's actually sold for. Now you can probably highlight this. You can go into the format cells. And you can change it to a currency so that it actually rounds it off just to 3 digits. So now that you know the average price that this sells for, at least for the minimum amount of sales that you've had, is around $9.96. Again, this is a good idea if you want to start your starting point at an average value. Now you know what the average sale value is on these items. One of the other things that you can do is maybe you want to say you want to put in a starting point. So you've decided, okay, I want to be able to put in a starting bid, but how are you going to determine what your starting bid is? Some people will determine it based on the maximum and come in somewhere between the average and the maximum. Or maybe you just want to take, say, the average times like maybe 120%. So 120% of the average. So what you can do is you can type this formula in. Equals sum. And you're just going to select your average cell, and you're going to multiply that by 1.2. So that's just a little star. And 1.2 and close your bracket. And again, we'll change that over to a currency again. And now you've got a starting bid. So now maybe you can play around with that. If you decide that you want to go at maybe 80% of the maximum, again, you can just multiply or just equal sum, open your bracket, and just put your value in this area here, multiplied it by 0.80 or 80%. So that'll give you your starting bid. So these are some good, easy, quick tools to start summarizing some of the items that you really want to start tracking on Quibids or Quibids. I know it's pronounced several different ways. But let's say you want to be able to track it by day. You can use these same types of formulas, and maybe instead of having it just in an entire collection form like this, maybe you want to do it by day. So you can type in your Mondays, your Tuesdays, your Wednesdays, etc., etc. So now say on Monday, after several weeks, you've compiled a number of different datas. There we go. And then you can just carry them down here again. Maybe you can just put your maximum and your value down here for your Monday. So again, you're just going to go the equal max, and now you're going to highlight this cell. Close your bracket. And now you've got your max for Monday. And you can do the same thing. You can put just below it, you can put your average. And you can put your starting bid. Use the exact same formulas that you can see here for your average equals average, and just highlight this cell instead. And then you can do the same thing for your starting bid. So maybe you want to have, again, the same thing that I've done, which is 120% of your average. So you just put in your equal sum, open your brackets, and you will just highlight your average and then multiply by 1.2, close off the bracket, and there it is. So this is a handy little tool. I'm just going to show you real quick. I have some overall stats. You can see that I've cleaned mine up a little bit, and I start getting some suggested starting points now. You can see that I've only started to compile some of this information, but you can see that I get a number of different values in here. These are old values. I wouldn't use this screenshot as a starting point. What I would suggest is just go over the last number of auctions and start fresh. But you can see that I collect a lot of data, and I just do it over the sum of several. So that's it. Hopefully you got some helpful hints on how you can use Excel just really quick without any real, uh, there's not a whole lot of skill involved in setting it up. It's quite simple. And if you enjoyed it, feel free to subscribe to my channel. Go back and watch my other videos. I've got some suggested bidding strategies in my second video. My first video was a quick summary on Quibids if you're new to it. And if you've enjoyed the video, feel free to, I'm going to leave a link down below. You can, if you haven't joined Quibids yet, you can join via that link. And it'll also give me 25 bids towards my own account if you found this video useful. But again, I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope that you'll subscribe to the channel. We'll have some more coming up in the future. Thanks, everybody.